I need a sidekick. That's what I need. By the way, I hope you all appreciate my evil beard. I went as Dracula yesterday for Halloween, so this is my evil Dracula beard. I thought I'd keep it for a while, basically until my wife gets sick of it. So, anyway.
So what if you didn't shave?
What did I do? What?
What if you didn't shave?
It would grow back, and I would just have like a longer tuft in the middle, and then just a beard. That's usually how hair works. So, I'd like to talk about assignment 2 for the purposes of history and recording events. The class is pretty small today because everybody has a .NET midterm after this, so that's why it looks like the room will look like the room is empty, except I don't really.
I can move slightly closer to the middle.
Nah, you obviously really like that corner, so I wouldn't move you from your corner. You know,
I
you
have
clearly.
sat in this exact corner every time you've been
Yeah.
in.
It is in the
That's
rights.
your habitat.
It is in the rights of every person to choose a corner. Let's
Precisely.
stay in that corner.
So, so basically, I'm recording this primarily for the benefit, I guess, of everybody who's got a midterm today. So, aren't you all lucky? So,
No.
well, in some respects, yes. In some respects, no. So, I'd like to go through assignment 2 for the benefit of the crowd, just to you know, so that you all know what you're dealing with. Has anybody started assignment 2 yet? With a midterm today, the probability is pretty low.
Sir, I think I had, like Monday through today, I had 3 midterms in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an assignment due on the Monday and on the Sunday.
Yes.
Yes.
There is no time.
Yes. Time does not exist anymore. So,
No.
if you think that's bad, try adult life.
I have a shirt for that. It's rated
At least you get
something
vacation.
1 star.
But you can choose vacation.
Yeah,
Well,
except
sometimes you can choose.
when you're an adult, vacation doesn't mean you get time off. It just means you're working on other work that you've been letting slide while your main job has been keeping you busy with your main work. Yeah. So, anyway, like I spent my entire vacation plastering. So, yeah. Anyway, enough biographical details. So,
Not more.
assignment 2. Assignment 2 has 2 questions, similarly to assignment 1. The starter code is a little bit more complicated this time because, of course, this assignment revolves around files, file I/O. So let's take a look at the starter, see what's in there. Pop, boom. So, we have A2 question 1, A2 question 2, HTML and JavaScript files.
Before we move on, I see that JSON file. That better not have any like ROT13 encryption in it.
No.
I already had enough of that over that last .NET assignment.
No. It's just plain text. There you go. This is a plain text file. So basically, the gist of the assignment is that you retrieve either the contents of this JSON file containing movies and movie information, or the contents of this plain text file containing Pokemon and links to their images. You sort them alphabetically, either in ascending or descending order, according to controls that are on the web page, and then you output that the JSON back to the client. You don't have to wrap these things in any kind of HTML, just sending JSON to the client will be sufficient, right? But it's got to be in order. Does that make sense? You guys know sorting algorithms?
Nope.
We're making it?
Yeah. In this case, you're required to write your own sorting algorithm. Yes?
Are we not allowed to use bubble sort?
I mean, if you want to use bubble sort, I will be fine with you using bubble sort, actually.
Can we use BOGO?
No.
Okay. What about Stalin?
Hmm?
What about Stalin?
Also no.
Any sort that isn't common.
Any sort that isn't a meme sort is allowed. So if you're looking
Wouldn't you
for,
make two versions of it? Say just the second version is specifically a meme version and shouldn't really be graded, but if you wanted to do it in,
So you just want
you had extra time.
I'm going to be using scripts to automate a certain amount of my grading, so include code that shouldn't be executed at your own peril.
I mean, it's like a separate file that's specifically renamed to not be the same thing.
Then that would be fine.
But add like a comment to the submission saying, if there's just extra time to run just random things.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
So among your basic sorting algorithms, there are 3 good options: selection sort, bubble sort, and insertion sort. This is the level or tier that I would expect people in the class to be at to be able to implement. The thing about sorting algorithms is they get quite complicated at the higher levels, and I would not expect anybody who has not gone through a data structures and algorithms course to implement something like quicksort or heap sort or shell sort, stuff in the sort of more advanced and better runtime category. However, there's absolutely no reason any programmer with, even a bare amount of exposure to programming should be able to whip up an implementation of any of those other 3 that I mentioned: selection sort, bubble sort, or insertion sort. So you will have to modify the algorithm slightly so that it works with the data structure that you have, right? You're not just sorting a list of integers, right? But anyway, so question 1, you have to write 2 functions, and remember there were marks for having the functions correct the last time. One function reads in the Pokemon.txt file and composes that data into a JSON. The other reads in the movies.json file and just takes it as a JSON. Yes. You then implement sorting by name, either in ascending or descending order. Whether or not it's ascending or descending will be set via a get parameter. You then send the JSON as a response to the client. So you're not worried about integrating into HTML, you're not worried about any of this stuff. Literally all you have to do is read a JSON in, sort it, and send it back out again to the client. Make sense? Doesn't sound too bad, right?
No, but my brain is going to make it more complicated than it actually is, and I'm not going to get it done.
Well, that's the thing. That's actually a very true statement. Many people make these problems a lot more complicated than they need to be. So, question 2 then. Question 2, you are expected to receive a file via POST request. So you remember that example we did in class where we were able to upload an image file, right? In this case, you're not uploading an image file, you're uploading a CSV file, which is a text-based file. You know what CSV stands for, right? Comma, separated value. And I just would like to, I'd like to point out how pretentious Microsoft is. Alright? Because the CSV file is such a common format, right? Everything and everybody uses CSV files. Check out how a CSV file, what its type is, as given by a Microsoft operating system. Microsoft Excel, comma, separated values file.
That's a bit wordy.
Well, yes. Also, it's not an Excel file. Excel will open a CSV file, but everything under the bloody sun will open a CSV file. It's not special to Microsoft. Microsoft is
They
so
don't like
pretentious. Hmm?
They don't like it is.
Yeah, they're just like, ooh, we have Microsoft, everything. Basically, Microsoft would love it if,
The basic text file from one,
like, Microsoft is not content to merely be the operating system and like the primary, like most of the Office products. Microsoft must be your whole life. You must live your entire life inside of Microsoft and not do anything that's not inside of Microsoft. Facebook and Google both think the same way. So even something as simple as a bloody text file has to have Microsoft logo slapped on it by the Microsoft operating system. It's disgusting. You disgust me, Microsoft. Incidentally, before Microsoft was a thing, there's a really good book called Neuromancer, which is like the first cyberpunk book, and Microsoft's are little chips that you can plug into your brain to access memories. They're like memory storage for your. It's like a USB drive for your brain, and they called those Microsofts in the book. And I thought that was funny because Microsoft then became like such a huge company name. Anyway, so. So basically, using the parameters sort column, sort the array by the column specified. So for example, we've got song, performing artist, and faith chart ranking. So you are sorting by whichever of these was selected. Note that the first line in this CSV file is not data, it is a heading. You will have to deal with that manually. Make sense? Then you just sort the data, again, kick it out to the client, and that is about all that needs to be said about that. So it occurs to me that you are required to sort things several times in this assignment. I wonder if there might happen to be some kind of method of abstraction that programmers use when they need to use a procedure several times. I'll let you guys think about that. Also, it's called functions. Use a function, write a sorting function. I'd also like to draw your attention, I'll make this big so that, I'd like to draw your attention right here.
Oh, I love that song.
Right? Your inputs, well actually, the first column is the song, so it's sanitize yourself. The script is the artist. So some XSS attacks have been sprinkled about inside of your data, so you do need to sanitize to get full marks.
Isn't there also one it's in one, I think the movies that JSON might also have one, I think.
Yeah, they all have one. Yeah. In movies, it's right there. And in Pokemon,
That's literally whatever, got it.
yeah. I wonder what this link actually is.
So you can have it with a
Probably-
triangle.
It's gotta be something.
Alright. Not a Pokemon.
No,
Not a
It
Pokemon.
would have been funnier if they put like missing note or something.
That would be hilarious. Steve missed an opportunity. Alright.
There's opportunities that I might have to go fix.
Yeah.
I might have to go fix that. I don't care if we get marked off like one because I edited one of the source file. I'm taking the opportunity for missing out.
Does anybody have any question about assignment 2? Submission is in the usual manner. Basically, you are only required to submit the PHP files for those 2 problems, plus me.php also has to be submitted, but it's like actually literally exactly the same as the last assignment, so just,
Someone tells me I had my me on PHP wrong somehow. I mean, it's just literally putting your name and student number into it,
I
right?
can take a look at it after class if you like.
Because I bet you somebody else had something else that also made sense, because mine was like overwriting the by whatever, like by whoever. Mine would overwrite that part of it and not keep that and then put my name after it.
I will tell you that from the assignment ones that I marked, if me.php existed, it got full marks. And not just like, I noticed the file, it's just like all the submitted me.phps got all the marks that were being given for that.
Yeah, it's just I noticed that mine was literally overwriting part of it. Like the page, part of the page where this PHP script was being called.
Yes. So, we should talk about cookies. Cookies!
And,
Who can tell me what a cookie is?
typically, it's made with flour, eggs, and
No.
sugar, and it's formed into a dough, and then separated on a pan, and then cooked in an oven.
All right. Can anybody give me what a computer cookie, a browser cookie? What's the definition of a browser cookie?
It's data that a website like transfers to your browser to kind of keep track of who you are.
Correct. That's actually a pretty good description. So a cookie is a piece of information which is left on the client by the server. So there are,
Deny all of them.
well, we'll get into like
Definitely
cookie
necessary.
policies a little bit later on. For now, let's just like learn the mechanism, right? So cookies can be served. Cookies can be stored in one of two different places, right? We have permanent memory cookies, which are stored on the hard drive, and we have impermanent cookies, which are stored in volatile memory. The ones that are not stored in permanent memory go away when you close your browser, right? So, cookies are usually pretty small. What cookies are typically used for is assigning tracking IDs, and we're going to explore the ethical implications of these tracking IDs a little bit later on. But for now, let's just learn the basic mechanism. So, number one, a cookie is sent by a PHP script that invokes the setCookie function. So basically, all it takes to make a cookie is a call to the setCookie function. We'll get into how to use that a little later on. When you create a cookie, you also declare what domain that cookie applies to, right? You guys all know what a domain is, I assume, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically whatever comes before the first slash, right? That's the domain,
Oh, yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
The URL.
right? It's a part of the URL.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So my canvas it gives you some cookies. The domain of those cookies is my canvas, right? So when a client, and this is very, very important, so please pay attention. When the client sends a request packet to the server, any cookies that apply to that domain are sent automatically. So the server does not need to specifically request cookies. The cookies are already there, right? The cookies are included in the original the original request packet from the client, right? So, cookie data can then be read by the PHP script. You can do various things depending on the cookie data, but fundamentally, this a cookie should be considered data originating in the client. And what do we never do with data originating in the client?
Trust it.
We never trust it. That's right. So let's take a look. You can view cookies and their contents from the inspector page, the inspection pane. If you go to application,
Depending on what you go, you have to be careful about where you go.
So under the application tab, you have a cookies heading. If you open that up, it gives you several domains. If you take a look, there we go. We have cookie names and we have cookie values. You can see the values are, long strings of unique identifiers, basically. This is mostly what cookies are used for, but it's not the only thing that cookies can be used for. This is generally considered like a security. The reason that these are all ID numbers is it's a security thing, right? It is possible to store literally any data inside of a cookie so long as it stays below the cookie size limit. You're late, come on, quick. So on Chrome, the size limit of a cookie is 4 kilobytes, right? It doesn't sound very large in our modern day, but 4 kilobytes you can actually do quite a lot with. 4 kilobytes would store literally any Atari game that was ever made, right? So, another thing that's sort of useful to note here, our cookies appear as key value pairs, right? Each one of these is technically speaking its own separate file or its own separate, memory entity, if you want to put it that way. But once we go into PHP, we will use the cookie superglobal to access these values by these keys, right?
Kind of similar to things like dictionaries and other languages.
Well, what it's really similar to is get and post parameters, right? The way that we access cookie data is almost identical to the way that we access get and post parameters. So,
So it should specify, for example, in the case of Canvas, how there's the 2 cookies, don't open the second one, because pretty sure that's signed and related. Under the storage category in the left corner, the 2 cookies, don't you have to differentiate between the 2?
where? Where? Here? Are you talking?
Yeah, those, don't you
Oh.
have to differentiate between which you're pulling from, or does it just based on the names?
They have different domains. So one is mycanvas.mohawkcollege.ca, which is our local, the Canvas thing that we made for Mohawk College, or whoever made it for us. This is I would imagine Canvas LMS is probably the company that made Canvas also has a tracking cookie on it. So there you go. If you're wondering if your data is being stolen, yes. At all times, welcome to the modern age. Or the postmodern age, or however you want to call it.
Just block all of them and then block every single cookie on the website, even the necessary ones, and
Yeah, but see, then you can't actually log into anything because most sessions are maintained through cookies. and we're gonna talk about sessions on Friday. So, let's make a cookie. Let's get baking.
Proceeds to open cookie.
No. So I'm going to do this on CS Unix. Basically, if I do this example on CS Unix, then you guys can also visit the URL, and then you can get, like, I can issue you cookies, and then everybody has like a more interactive session. Whereas if it's like stuck inside of XAMPP, you know, it's like, so I'm going to do this through, CS Unix, but you guys feel free to do it through XAMPP if you want to.
I don't mind.
Whichever you want.
One example you were doing, that you were doing on CSU, I think was the file uploading example.
Yes. Yeah, because I couldn't quite get it to work on XAMPP, yeah.
But there was another file that you had done. I had uploaded a movie because you had it set up to where everybody could access it. And then you just deleted the file without even looking at it.
Oh,
Because it was just an image file.
well, I'm sorry if I missed the need.
It was really stupid. It wasn't.
I mean,
I found it funny that I was able to even upload it.
oh yeah, yeah. I was doing it publicly. WinSCP, there we go. Good. So, let me just log into WinSCP. That's my name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's my password.
Access that on.
Oh man. There we go.
Gaming today. Anytime I mess anything up, I just use these reasons. Clearly gaming today.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. I kind of object to Chrome providing thumbnails of people in search results. I object to this. Who asked for this? Who are these people and why are they in my browser? Well, apparently one is a footballer, which is not even the word you use here.
I think what it might be is that when people want to search up who someone is, they just want to see their face and be like, oh. And so Google immediately already gives them the face, so they don't have to waste the server space of looking it up.
Can you even see that on that smartphone now?
But like,
The personal.
it's such a tiny thumbnail. How are you even supposed to see anything?
Well, if you're right up against the computer screen, you can still see them.
I feel like it's invasive, you know?
I agree with you, sir.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
that's S8, this is S8, there we go. All right, so I have just created a thing in my CS Unix, csunix.mohawkcollege.ca ~f2023/s8/cookies. If you navigate to this URL, I'll make it larger. There's the URL. If you navigate here,
Just shrink your Chrome window from top down.
yeah,
You just have to have on top.
you can follow along with me.
Well, just don't give us the file upload permissions.
No, I'll post
do
it
the
though.
file upload. I think you still should have the file for the file uploading and stuff.
Oh.
Which week was that?
6, I think. So I'm going to make. No, yeah.
It was.
It was? Yeah. I'm going to make a new thing. Oh, I think I found out that if you call something index.php and there's no index.html, it'll load that instead. I
Yeah,
think
it
that's
does.
true.
And you can use that as the redirect method. You
Yeah.
can just redirect into subfolders, that's what Xampp does.
Cool.
It's on here.
Good. So,
It took the file extension.
yeah,
You didn't need a file extension, but.
so what I'd like to do with this, I'd like to make a page that presents a form and gets some input from the user, like their name, if there's no cookie. And if there is a cookie, just greet the person using the name that's stored in the cookie. That's what I'd like to do for all of us, right here, right now. So, this is going to be like another one-page app type example.
String sanitization.
Oh man. No, I am intentionally forgetting string sanitization to make a point.
Yeah, it's detecting it as an HTML
It's detecting it as
document because it deleted the file extension. When you say it ended up saving it, Windows said, so you want that file extension? How about no?
I'm sorry, did you want that file
It's like you can see it's gone. There you go. There
I
you
hate
go.
Windows so much.
If you had time.
It's not iffy at times. It is always iffy. There's never a time when it's not iffy.
Call people anytime I use them, I guess. I don't usually have issues with them. Most of the time I'm not ever doing anything ridiculous.
So,
No, actually, they're pretty good now.
so let me ask you all a question. How do we tell if a get parameter was sent? Anybody? Let's say I'm receiving, sorry?
Yeah, what's the question?
Let's say that I'm receiving a request that may or may not have a particular get parameter set. In PHP, how do I tell whether or not a get parameter was actually sent?
Use the is set.
Precisely so. We can use the same thing with cookies. So, if cookie, let's say we're calling this cookie my name, if is set my name, then we want to do some stuff, else we do other stuff. And in this case, if the cookie is not set, I want to give the user a form with an input, type, text, name equals name, short, why not?
Wouldn't it need to be my name? Is that what you have to?
See, no.
No, for
I'm setting this up to send a get request to the server. This is different. This is the cookie. This is the name of the cookie I'm expecting. So, input type is equal to submit. Value is equal to fail.
yeah.
Value is equal to submit. There we go. Echo found a cookie. Hey. There we go. Now, basically, we're going to perform another check to see if this load contains the get parameter. basically this is gonna be like a 3-stage operation, right? We just load the page. That allows us to send a GET request. The GET request is processed. That will create the cookie. And then we load the cookie on the next load, and that gets rid of the form. So,
Is there a way, like, if we have a cookie there, instead of just fully getting rid of like everything but like if you're saying like hello, whatever the name is in the cookie, is there a way we can provide like a button on the page that like unsets cookie parameters or just deletes the cookie?
so here's an interesting thing. You can't delete a cookie. You can set them to you can set a timer for them to delete themselves. But basically, the information for deleting a cookie must be created at the time of cookie creation. You can't just manually go in and delete a cookie. You can overwrite the value in a cookie, but that's not the same thing as like deleting it outright.
What's the intent when it becomes like cookie and site data deleting utility, you click on like the lock on the website?
Oh, that's different. That's a session. We're going to talk about sessions later. Sessions are on Friday. Right now we're only talking about cookies. Like, the difference between a session and a cookie. In a cookie, the data is being stored like on the client. In a session, it stores an ID number on the client that hooks up to a database on the server that actually contains the data. So deleting.
That like clearing like the information through like the cookies and site data will like sign you out of the website or?
Precisely so. Yeah, exactly so. That's why clearing a cookie signs you out of the website, because it deletes your session ID. But the on the server side, the server is not aware that you deleted your session cookie, right? It just, like, because it's a cryptographically generated key and can't be duplicated, it sees a client with no session ID, right? And so it gives you one. Or when you log in, that's, it no longer has the ability to validate that you have an existing session, all right? Perhaps I'm explaining it poorly. We'll get to it when we talk about sessions. Yeah. So, let's see if this name parameter is set, right? If it is, we want to create the cookie. Ooh, key Chris. So, I understand that you guys are studying, but can you guys maybe keep it down a little bit? Thank you. So, the set cookie function. First parameter, the name of the cookie we are creating. This must correspond to the name that you're looking for when you try to read the cookie. Number 2, the value to store. Now, this can be just a regular general string. If you want to, you can take JSON data and you can JSON encode that and throw that into a cookie, if you want to. Generally, not good practice, but that's what this tool is capable of, right? Number 3, setting time of expiry. The browser will periodically go through and garbage collect all of the cookies which have expired, right? There's no way for the server to manually delete cookies existing on the client. The way that you do that is by setting an expiry time on your cookies, right? Does that make sense? Anybody paying attention? You're paying attention. Yeah.
Paying attention, which
You're paying
the expiry brought up another question. Is that why I ended up trying to open a website that I was signed into last night? And then when I opened it, I'm like, why am I signed out? I had a weird site there, and
Mhm. Yep.
just that cookie decided it wanted to expire.
Yes, precisely so. This is the auto logout feature, right here. Right?
It's just like I hadn't included any data. I had been signed in for a good while. I think it's been a couple months since I had to sign in. Ended up basically giving myself a little mini heart attack because I couldn't remember my password.
Ah.
It's not easy to reset my password on that site.
Mhm. Yeah, so the thing is, you can be extremely generous with these things, or like, you can give them an expiry of 10 minutes or 3 seconds or whatever you want to do, right? So,
I was passing my head to a wall if it was anything lower than like an hour, unless it's something super secure. Then it's like 15 minutes maybe.
so I should explain how time works in this context, right? Unix epoch time, right? So we are setting the Unix epoch time of the expiry of that cookie. How many people have heard of Unix epoch time?
So that's gonna die in like 2038.
Yes, the 2038 Unix epoch bug.
Oh, that is one.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's like the bug, but do you know what Unix epoch time is? That's the question. So, Unix epoch time is a very, 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 very common time storage mechanism used by computers. The current Unix epoch time is defined as the number of seconds which have elapsed since the beginning of history, January 1st, 1970.
Paid off like that.
Hmm?
If it was 1970, I'm off like another one.
No, the beginning of history is January 1st, 1970. So would you like to know what the Unix epoch bug is then? Because this is kind of interesting.
It's fun.
It's fun, yeah. So Unix epoch time is ordinarily stored in a 32-bit register in a chip somewhere on your motherboard. It's read from your motherboard. It's a hardware thing, right? This chip uses 32 bits, typically, to store Unix epoch time. Yes, so I believe sometime in May of 2038, or 2036, no, I think it's 2038, you can look it up. What's gonna happen is that 32-bit register will roll around and become a negative value. So 1 second, you'll be in 2038. The next,
Everything black.
you're in 1901. Sometime in April, I
Oh,
think.
was it 1901?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
it counts the same amount,
January 19th, 2030.
yes, January 19th, 2038? Okay.
At 3:14.
314, yes. So,
3:14:07 to be precise.
so you guys remember Y2K? Probably you guys were born after Y2K, a lot of you. How many people in the room remember Y2K?
I know it existed.
I was-
involved.
Yeah?
I
Do you, are you old enough to remember Y2K?
I was born in 2002.
Ah, alright. So, so when the year 2000 was coming, people were worried that the world was gonna end. They manifested this fear in the calendar system, the software calendar system of operating systems at the time, primarily like Windows 98 and 95 machines. Basically, it was fine. Y2K was nothing. It didn't matter because that was software. Software can be patched. Follow-up question. Can you patch hardware?
Well,
No,
Yeah.
you
you can
cannot.
only replace hardware.
You can only replace hardware. You can only physically replace the chip. Yes.
So what, when I looked it up to figure out what the date and time was,
Yeah?
Wikipedia's article about it was the first thing that showed up. They actually have a gift showing how it's gonna happen.
Oh, cool.
There's an actual thing.
Yeah.
It's under,
So basically, we have 15 years to replace every timing chip in every piece of electronics that's important across the entire world. And as far as I'm aware, they are still making the 32-bit version of that chip and not the 64-bit version, because who expects their electronics to still be used 15 years from now? So, Unix epoch bug. It's going to be fun. I'm going to make popcorn. I'm going to have a party, I think. So, anyway,
What kind of popcorn?
end of the world party.
Made from the kernels of all the computers that are gonna be failing at night.
Popcorn kernels.
yeah,
Yeah, there we go.
you got a couple computers
Funny
go
joke.
Yeah.
with their own paste on it, use them to cook the popcorn.
So, path, just include slash for now, don't worry about that, just include it. Domain, this is where you set the domain that the thing is available, so set that to the domain for your website. Secure, cookies should be transmitted over HTTPS. You know, we should, of course, be using HTTPS for everything, so that should be true. And then HTTP only makes it so that JavaScript can't access cookies. That's also a very good security feature. That should also be set to true. For some reason, in PHP, those are both false by default. So you gotta set them to true manually. Question?
You kind of answered part of what I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask, is all those last five, with the expiration time, path, domain,
Mhm.
security, GTP only, were set to like the default, whatever default?
Yeah, they
Those
have
optional
default
ones,
values.
What
Yeah.
are those first three optional ones default?
Well, technically, actually, according to the documentation here, value is also default, also has a default value of just an empty string. So, you know, so our name of our cookie is my name.
Is the expired?
Value will be, what am I doing? Yes. Name, that's right, I'm doing this in a very unsafe manner. We will see why when I give you my example.
You're gonna want us to try to like story it in some way.
No, it's just gonna show you how. Expiry
Let's
time,
attempt to break it and then.
let's just, there we go. That's 1 hour in seconds. We have our path, just leave it as slash for now. Oh, wrong slash. Domain is csunix.mohawkcollege.ca and true and true.
Oh, I realized that we're
There we go.
test cookies and stuff when we're working on like assignments. And we're using like XAMPP and stuff. I have to go in later and update that from like localhost to CSUNix.
Yep. So this is what you do, right? You just make domain a variable at the top of your file, and then you know where you have to modify it from. So
I still don't even know what you have to consider.
let's run this. Oh, I forgot that one. Gets me every time. There we go. Now, right now, there's no cookie. No cookies, right? If I type my name, Nick, submit, there we go. you can see, we now have a cookie.
And if you want to.
My name.
There
we go. You found a cookie, yay. Oh, I didn't actually like do the thing where it says the name. All right, cookie. My name. Hello. My name.
I'm pretty thinking of it wrong, but isn't it because it's in a string, you don't technically need those single quotes?
Yeah, it'll probably be now. Or,
Oh, it doesn't matter, yeah. Oh. Okay.
try it that way. See if it works.
Actually, that makes any sense.
Does PHP make sense though?
No, like half the coding languages that we use barely.
Yeah. So there we have it.
How about encrypting it should have like dropped it?
I'm sorry, it's not a conversation between you and me. Okay. Thank you. Everybody has to be included in the collection. So, as we can see, the data is being pulled from the cookie and integrated into the web page. And of course, everybody should know by now that I have ignored basically all of our best practices for data validation and sanitization. So let's implement that. Rather than just pulling something from the, just from the from the super global, let's say data is equal to filter input of name, type, sorry, input, get, name, and filter, sanitize, special chars. There we go. Now we just put the data in here. Like that. There we go. Incidentally, if you want the slow way to delete your cookies, that's the slow way to delete your cookies. You can just go into the cookie list and delete them manually. Very useful for debugging, but if you're doing anything more than that, I recommend doing it using some kind of automated mechanism. There we go. Next. Or perhaps we can, script. Or H1. It's like a non-invasive version. There we go. You can see it has sanitized the characters, right? Now, if I reload the page, oh,
Oh, did not sound.
it did not say. Interesting. But I have sanitized characters. Why is it interpreting sanitized characters as non-sanitized characters? That's a very weird thing for it to be doing. Well, this perhaps further illustrates my point that, like, what is the value in the cookie right now? Does the cookie have unsanitized values? That's so interesting. That looks sanitized to me. You know? Weird. Anyway, I guess it doesn't matter that much. The idea is data that's incoming from cookies should and must also be validated. Yes?
I think it's form request maybe, because looking at the URL, like if you go back into the browser, up in the URL, it's unsanitized.
Oh, so it is. but that shouldn't matter.
I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. Psycho.
Like, yeah, it is totally resending the GET request, sure, right? But it's, even if I take the GET request out, it's still, oh.
Did you forget about something, Jim?
I forgot that, maybe that has an effect. Did I forget to pop this over here? No, it gives the appearance of reading sanitized characters as unsanitized characters, and this is freaking me out. This is not supposed to work this way.
That's an index that we need to an index that is now calling a separate PHP file.
No, this should be fine. This worked the other day.
I have no idea though.
Probably some bug in here somewhere, but, is just filtering not working? So, the important thing that this is meant to illustrate is that you have to sanitize inputs coming from cookies the same way that you would sanitize inputs coming from anything else, because it's coming from the client. Yes,
Where is input get defined? Where am I?
or is it, what is it? It's input, get. Yeah. It's a enum that is an option for the filter input. So input cookie. My names. Right? Sanitize special characters. There we go, there we go, there we go. Maybe hopefully now, once I upload. Oh, I'm not actually using it. See, but here I am, you know? It's weird. It's just weird. It's like it comes out of the cookie correctly. Alright. Over we go. Yes. There we go. Now it's sanitized. Everybody's happy.
Was it because it was using input? Input here, it said input cookie?
Well, but in that case, I am trying to get it from the get parameter, right? But anyway. So, I'd like to show you one other little malicious trick that can be used to try to spoof these things and inject things. You can actually modify the values of the cookies on your machine directly. So, for example, if I wanted to include script, alert, wait, I've heard this one before. Script. There we go. Wait, I've heard this one before. Oh, there's a ending brace there. And one missing here. There we go. There you go. If I disable, if I put things back the way they were, that would also come through, basically. It's just not cooperating with it today. But anyway, the idea, the point there is that cookies can actually be modified directly by the user. Maybe I'm setting a get parameter which resets the cookie. It doesn't look like I'm sending a get parameter though. Maybe it's because I'm using reload instead of like pressing enter. I don't know. Anyway. So that's a cookie. Again, these things store plain text, so if you want, you can take a data structure, package it up as a JSON string, store that in a cookie. But, generally speaking, that's considered bad practice and not the way things are moving. So, one of the things that cookies used to be used for was storing site preferences, right? You would, for example, dark mode. If you wanted dark mode on a website, you'd click your preferences, set up dark mode. It would save like a JSON cookie on your machine that said, oh, this user prefers dark mode, right? What's becoming increasingly common is not storing anything at all on the client except a tracking number or some kind of serial number, which you can then use to look up user preferences in some database on your server. In theory, you save a little bit of server space by making the client store their own preferences, but you're also providing like a means of vulnerability into your system, right? Like the more information you give to the client, that's information that a malicious programmer could use to figure out how your system is designed and configured and what parameters are going on inside of it and all kinds of stuff you don't want them to know. So what you want to do is you want to just give out this meaningless random string of characters that is only meaningful when it's plugged into your database, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Good.
Sorry,
So,
I just have a question with the that set cookie. That time plus 3600,
yeah,
that's per second, right? So that's gonna be 1 hour.
yes.
So if you refresh the page, that's the message is not gonna disappear until you delete the cookie. Is that right?
The cookie will, okay, so the cookie will, in this case, the cookie gets refreshed every time you send a get parameter.
Okay.
So every time you send a get parameter and that line set cookie activates, you can think of it as being like the timer is reset to 1 hour in the future, right? But if you like walked away from your computer and went and had your lunch and then came back to your computer, right? Assuming you took, slightly over an hour for your lunch, you would come back to find that cookie has been deleted because,
After an hour.
yeah, but it's the responsibility of the client to delete it, not the server, right? The client holds the cookie itself. It knows when the cookie is set to expire, so it deletes the cookie when it expires.
So, but for example, like this. So when I used your code that you made like this, so I have to like something like that. And then if I refresh it, it doesn't disappear. So it will disappear if I delete this. And the form is not gonna appear unless I delete the cookie. That's common, right?
Well, you can delete the cookie, but then you also have to refresh the page, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because like with this PHP script, we're doing two very different things based on the existence of that cookie, right? So if it exists, we do one thing. If it doesn't, we do the other, and that's what you saw there. Does that make sense? Awesome. So, good. So now,